Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Thanks for tuning in to the next episode in the series. Very excited to continue progress on this little application here that we're building. If you missed any of it, please feel free to go ahead and get caught up. And if you're returning, thanks for tuning back in. So again, we're just going to commit here. I'm going to try to do this towards the end of the videos instead of at the beginning of them because it just makes more sense. But what we covered in the last video here, we, I don't know. Nope. We successfully parsing our JSON file and translating that to views in the adapter. Sure, sounds good to me. Yep. Okay. And then let's see here. So in the last episode, we went ahead and just parsed everything, got this app running, and now have stuff on screen here. And so we have the ability to click them, but we don't go anywhere at the moment. So I think it makes sense that when we go ahead and click, Put Lakes, it'll go to the detailed screen, and we'll just kind of have all the data at that point. So we have our nav graph set up, right, where we're on this home fragment, and when they click something, they go to the attraction detail fragment, and we pass in the attraction ID. So let's go ahead and do that real quick, except we need a string here because we need the attraction ID. So we're just going to very quickly add that in, attraction.id, and then if we go back to the home fragment, it.string, so let's just write this as attraction ID. So now we know in this block of code that we're getting a string, and we are going to call that attraction ID, because that's what it is. So what we need to create is what's known as the nav directions. And because we are on the home fragment here, the way we're going to navigate away from this screen is actually via a file called home fragment directions. This again gets auto-generated for us from the SafeArgs plugin. So if you missed that, one of the previous episodes dives a little bit into that, and hopefully you'll kind of get all the info you need. As you saw there, you don't actually create the object up front, you actually invoke the static method that exists on it that maps to the action that you've defined in the nav graph. So here we have action home fragment to attraction detail fragment, and if we look at the nav graph here, we can see that in the home fragment we have an action called action underscore home fragment underscore to blah blah blah. So you can see that that name translates pretty easily to this function call. And then because we're going to a screen that requires a particular field, we have this parameter as part of this whole construction process here. So we're just going to go ahead and pass our attraction ID in. And now we have our nav directions, and we can call nav controller, navigate with the nav directions, and then you just pass in the nav directions there. So very straightforward to actually navigate and interact with our nav graph. And then let's go on the other side and find our attraction detail fragment. And we obviously have nothing here, but one thing that I want to show. So we are all caught up to speed here. Let's go ahead and create something called, I always call this SafeArgs just because that's what the plugin is called. But in order to basically get the argument out on the other side in this fragment here, we again use a file that's created for us, and it's going to be, because we're in the attraction detail fragment, it's going to be the attraction detail fragment args file, or class, excuse me. We're going to do by lazy here. No, sorry, not by lazy. By nav args. And this is, again, just something that comes with the whole navigation component library here. And your arguments that you've defined in this nav graph are now injected into this particular object and ready to use. So we have a pretty bare bones UI at the moment. It's literally just a button. But for sake of this example, we are going to set the text on this button to be the SafeArgs attraction ID. So when we navigate from one screen to the next, we are going to whatever ID has been selected, we will just put that in our on screen in the button. And I've just highlighted here the Plitvice Lakes National Park ID that we have in the JSON file so that we can see when we navigate to the next screen that things are working as intended. Probably going to have to do something here on the loading front for all these images because it doesn't look too great to just have a blank screen, but we'll clean that stuff up later. So we're going to go ahead and click on Plitvice National Lakes, and you can see OEC 267, OEC 267. Again, this is just in all caps here because the button defaults to putting the text in all caps, but you can very easily see that the ID here matches up fine. We don't have a back button yet because we don't have the toolbar connected and it doesn't understand the navigation that's gone on, but that's a very quick fix. So if you do actually navigate backwards, if you have a button, you can click the button or you can drag from the edge of the screen and the backstack is retained, and then you want to go ahead again and now you're completely out of the app. So hopefully you can see that this is a lot easier, this is a lot more declarative, this is a lot simpler in some ways to especially navigate. You don't need to create a whole Fragment transaction, get the support manager, add in any of your animations and stuff like that, and then commit the transaction and put it on the backstack and all that kind of stuff. That's all done under the hood for you when you go ahead and basically build your directions and then navigate through the library. So really quickly though, on the notion of animations here, they actually all exist right here, and you can define them in XML. I know when we covered it, I think in one of the previous seasons, we went over and actually did it in code, and you actually still can do that. You can invoke a different navigate function here, one that has the nav options associated with it, yeah, and you can actually, in the options, define your transitions. But here you can actually go ahead and just do them in XML, and then you don't have to worry about it. So again, just one more thing that you can do in this nav graph. So let's see. Let me just fool around with these and try to get something that looks good. Okay, so if you got a glimpse of it in the edited version, you might have saw me flip back and forth here to our EPL repository here because I wanted to just jump into these fragment animations here and just kind of fetch them instead of having to create them. But we went ahead and created two quite simple animations here, slide in, slide out. And so as you can see here, when we click one, you can actually see, and it'll make more sense once there's more on this screen, but you can see this fragment, the detail fragment that we go to kind of slide in from the right side of the screen, and then you can see this fragment here that we're looking at right now slide out from the left, and that happens basically at the same time, so it literally just looks like we're pushing this window, or pushing the data behind this window, just right to left, and it just provides that little transition, and then on the way back we just kind of animate two different fades going on. So nothing too fancy, but just wanted to show you here that any of the little simple stuff that we did if in the old school way of doing things with, as far as animations go, you can also provide that same functionality here and do it in XML, do it a little cleaner, and then your implementation doesn't change here at all. You know, you're telling it to navigate, and then behind the scenes, maybe you want to modify how things animate, so you can just quickly edit these attributes, and then you're all good. Or if for some reason you wanted to change the way that the slide in right one works, and you use that in 10 different places, you know, you just need to modify that file, and everything else will fall into place for you here. So I'm going to keep this one short, just to kind of showcase the SafeArgs usage in the destination fragment that you navigate to, and then moving to, or showing you how to navigate from one destination to the next, and a little bit of animations in there. So in the next episode, we will go ahead and kind of spruce up this UI a little bit here. We're not really seeing too much, but we'll go ahead and make a better version of what exists here. A little bit cleaner, a little bit fancier, nice looking. Hopefully it'll bring together our animations a little bit more, and then you know, we'll continue going from there. So thanks for tuning in. I will catch you in the next one.